that clinched it, and the Bombers once again continue their domination of Carlton, and at last the Bombers, after 6 attempts, have won an elimination final and advanced through the finals. They won it by 33 points after moving away late in the last quarter. Carlton led by 5 points at half-time, but where the Bombers won it was in the third quarter, where they kicked 7 goals straight. For Essendon, Terry Danaher 4 goals, Van der Haar and Merritt each kicked 3, and for Carlton, Hunter kicked 5 goals and was their really only player on the forward line. Well, for Carlton coach David Parkin, it's the first time he's missed out since crossing to the Blues. After a premiership at Hawthorn, his record at Carlton is now 2 premierships and a 5th place finish in his 3 years. He was full of praise for Essendon and qualified Carlton's performance by saying they'd probably played their final series in August and had an empty tank for the real stuff. He's been known to take defeat very hard, but was in an expansive mood soon after the game.
Realist about the circumstances in which we find. I think a coach always got to say, Drew, did we optimise the talents that we had? And we were running a bit short of talent. I think we took a long while to pick the team on Thursday night because we had trouble in getting a structure and the personnel that we really wanted. And we were sort of struggling all the time. We struggled after going down so badly last week. It certainly was an advantage to them. But we were really keen. I mean, I can't complain. The guys really did have a go. We didn't chuck it away. We're still going to finish, despite the fact we weren't playing all that well. And I don't like losing. No, of course I don't. And Carlton people hate it. But we have to acknowledge the opposition when they do it as well as they've done it, and as consistently. It's no fluke because they've done it consistently, and I think a lot of praise should go to Essendon for their continual dominance over us in a side that we think's been one of the best in the last decade. Well, they've continued to beat us, and we'll just leave that big question mark in their minds. What might they have done if they got past the elimination finals in previous years? But unfortunately, they can't take those 2 flags away from us.
And where for Carlton now? What would be your program for building up for next year?
That's a good question. I think Drew will really have to think it through. We did it differently this year. In 81 and 82, we worked exceptionally hard for a long time in preparation for both those seasons. To be quite honest, we haven't worked nearly as hard and nearly as long this year. We've trained in the last 2 months. We've done next to no training to try and keep the enthusiasm in place. It's funny, when we started to do that, we started to win, but in fact it might have been a little bit of the thing that undid us because we didn't have as much real hard condition that we had both in 81 and 82. It's a very delicate position when you've had players up for a long time, how to treat them. Certainly a lot of the older ones, we'll have to send them to pastures. The young ones we're going to have to build up, and I hope that the club goes desperately. What we didn't do at the start of this year, we could have bought in our 7 or 8 players that we have on Form 4s and contracted to Carlton around the country and spend a lot of money doing that. We didn't do it because we had faith with those that who'd done the job for us. Well, they didn't do the job this year, so maybe we'll be putting a bit more pressure on the committee and management to make sure that we procure the players that we have so that we get that depth again, which held us in great stead in 81 and 82, that we